So they are having fun with it.
Yeah,
the British man is like shouting at them about how gross this is and how improper, and they just smile and give him a thumbs up.
You are listening to And If Love Remains, a unique show spotlighting people, ideas, science, culture, and art. Your host, Mike Lovett.
Part 2 of our epic recap of the epic movie, RRR.
In a way, gives up his all-encompassing goal. That goal happens.
Right. Yeah, it's almost Zen.
Yeah.
In that he lets it go, and it comes around.
Right. So, okay, so we have this beautiful friendship blossoming. I mean, there's some lady folk involved, and it's like, like
in a 3-hour movie, we are at 42 minutes.
Right?
No, yeah. And which brings us to it's an amazing dance number.
Right. So Beam sees this woman. So
the only good British.
Let's see. So he meets her in the context of there's some Indian workers who are lining up outside the palace.
That's right. Yeah.
To prepare for this huge party that's coming up.
Right.
Right. And at that point, the party is probably a week or two away, and one of them doesn't have doesn't have his ID on him. Which, get out of line,
right?
But no, instead he tries to explain to the worst person ever,
the British, most evil,
that he forgot it, and so the guy just starts beating him. Like, he's not going to let him in anyway, so why are you beating him? But he is, right? And so Jenny stops him. And the guy's like, he didn't bring his ID. And she's like, there's no reason to treat him like this, right?
Right.
So, she's like, go, just go. And Beam sees this and is like, oh, she seems kind-hearted. And it's interesting because I don't know if at that point he sees her as anything other than a means to an end.
It's interesting. I don't know that either. Because at first, sometimes when I've only seen it twice, unlike you two fanatics. But I'm not sure if I put together that he even realizes that she lives in the big house yet.
She came out of it.
Oh, okay. So she did
came out of it.
Okay, so you're right. He probably
and he very clearly says she seems kind-hearted.
I can use
she may be our way in.
Yeah, in the words of Ronald Reagan, this is somebody that maybe we can work with.
Yeah. Well, let's go talk to Jenny.
Right. Except, they don't speak the same language.
They don't understand each other.
Not even a little bit.
Which is hilarious. I mean, it's so innocent.
Having spent nearly 30 years married to a woman who, when we first started dating, we really didn't speak the same language. I can relate. Yes.
Yeah.
The only word that we definitely know she knows is memsab.
Memsab.
Because she tells him not to call her memsab.
It
is just Jenny. Yes.
Right. Because that's
a long name.
It's like it's like an honorific.
Okay.
That she doesn't want him to apply to her. She just wants him to call her Jenny. But anyway, he sees her. And like he still has a goal of getting in there, but now he's kind of like trying to think of how to talk to Jenny.
Right.
And Raju has been looking for Beam, but he doesn't know he's looking for her. But he's got like a sketch of Beam's brother. He's trying to find the brother because he had caught the brother before, but he got away.
Right.
Which is how they ended up meeting through circumstances. And of course, before he can show the wanted poster to Beam, he actually shows it to him. This is what I think is pretty cool because you know that this is going to come.
Right.
You know that he's going to show him the picture and he's somehow not going to see it. Right? Yeah. And so he's like, yeah, why haven't I showed you this before? He's on the back of a motorcycle and they're driving and he holds it up to him. And at that moment, they're driving by the palace and Beam looks at the palace because he wants to get in there, which interestingly is the same place that Raju keeps looking at.
Yes,
too, right?
yes.
So as he looks back, of course, is it just a wind?
I think it's just a wind.
Or either a wind or something whips it out of his hand and lands in a mud puddle. So gosh darn it, we're not going to be able to show you this picture of your brother. You're just going to have to wait till I get it done again.
Which in the story beat, he loses the thing, and then he is walking up, and he could totally brush the mud off and show it to Beam, but he sees Beam is looking at Jenny.
Right.
So the story continues. He rolls up the photo because he wants to help his friend.
Yeah.
Right. So he sees Jenny and he's like, why don't you talk to her? And I can't think how. And
you make an opportunity.
Right. He tells him, when
he becomes the Tony Robbins of
right. He's like, you don't wait for an opportunity to talk to her. You create one. And in one of a couple of scenes where Indians can just steal stuff and not pay for it, he grabs like a handful of nails.
Not exactly a theme, but it does come up.
And he's like, okay, get in front of her, and she's driving in her like Model A or whatever that is, and he gets in front of her, and you've only seen it twice, so you might not have noticed, but Jenny is looking at them, and then she's distracted and she looks off to the right. And that's when he lets go of all of the nails. Now, Raju obviously has ESP. Because that is not the only time that he is looking away, because he was looking forward. Right? So either he has ESP or his namesake, right? Lord
the gods are with him.
Just has helping him out. Because, he drops the nails and he's like, okay, pull over by this bench. Why do you want to pull over here? Because this is where she's going to stop. Right? And pow, it blows out. And they do the meet cute, right?
Yeah.
To use Hollywood terms.
Right.
And they do a whole thing. They can't understand a word, but she still invites him to a party. Fortunately, she hands him a written invitation, which is nice. Because his friend can read.
Right.
And Beam, he neither reads nor writes, and he doesn't speak a word of English. So they're like, woohoo, let's go to the party. And Raju gives him a suit, right?
Yeah.
And trims his beard.
Right.
That's a weird kind of like, he trims his beard and he puts like some pomade in his hair.
Right.
And it's not pomade, but it's
the same.
It definitely says like men's hair gel.
Yeah, it's a men's hair
so
tonic
British
kind of
hair gel.
And then that's what sets up, as we all know, in an Indian movie, there has to be a song and dance.
Yeah.
There has to be.
And for those of you who don't know, there has to be.
Right.
We were watching some movie. I think it was a superhero Bollywood movie. It was a long time ago. But the story is going on, and then it dead stops.
Right. Most of them
for like 7 minutes for this musical sequence. It has absolutely nothing to do with the story. It's like one of those tie-in music videos where like the Black Eyed Peas does a song for Spider-Man. So in the music video, Spider-Man is seen swinging, but he's got nothing to do with the song.
Right.
So it's like that for 7 minutes, and then the musical sequence is over, and then we just go back to the movie. You could cut it right out, and we wouldn't miss a thing.
Yeah.
So that's how that usually is.
That's how a lot of them are.
And I think for most people, maybe you've seen Slumdog Millionaire. The dance number at the end is kind of what you would get in the middle.
Right. And I don't remember that director's name anymore, but the reason why he was able to win Best Foreign Language Film that year at the Oscars was because he put the dance at the end.
Right.
you can't just, because I don't know if you remember, and we're getting into that, but the Jai Ho, the dance at the end of that movie,
directed by Danny Boyle.
It has like the bad guys are in it.
Right.
And that happens a lot in Indian movies. Like the bad guys are dancing and singing right alongside the good guys in the middle of the movie. And you just want to slap them. Just stop. Do it later. Some dog should have taught you something. But in this case, in RRR,
it's a plot beat.
It is a plot point, right? It almost couldn't happen the way that it did without that dance.
Yeah.
Right?
I really don't think it could.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the whole party sequence. If you cut it out, you'd miss a lot of the story beats about the friendship and the
right
and the relationship with Jenny.
Well, and you see it. I mean, bottom line, it's the classic bad evil British man asks Jenny to dance. Jenny kind of then sees Beam and goes woo, and goes to Beam, says let's dance.
Right. I don't even know. What are they doing? A waltz?
Some kind of waltz.
It looked like they were
It's just little
dancing a
box
waltz,
steps.
but I don't know what the music wasn't a waltz.
Right. And so they're dancing, and again the evil British guy trips Beam, makes him look like a fool.
Right.
And it's pretty drawn out. Like the
silver
platter,
platter,
which becomes important, is like slowly rolling, and everybody's turning and looking, and Beam is like, oh,
right.
Yeah, Beam hits the waiter. The platter he's carrying falls to the ground, and then for a solid minute, it's just rolling.
Right.
And they'll have a confrontation about, oh, this man thinks he can dance, but can he do this? Can he do this? Blah, blah,
Right.
blah, back and forth. Cut back to the silver platter, still rolling.
Right.
yeah,
Right. And it just should be noted that the guy is like, oh, but can he...
Can he do the flamenco?
Can he swing?
It's like there's no more
What was
British
What was
dance
the
in the
next one?
swing.
It was flamenco. I think might have been the last one that he
Yeah.
did. But whatever. It was like the famous
Tango. He did the
Tango.
tango. He
Oh,
did
yeah,
the swing,
tango.
and then
Right.
he does his little
because if there's
step
one
dap
thing Brits are famous for,
dancing.
it's their ability to do Latin dance. Right? I mean, definitely. When you think of snobby British guys with pencil mustaches, you think that guy can probably salsa, baby.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just weird, and Beam is, of course, laying there. He doesn't understand a word of what this guy is
He's just-
saying.
Yeah.
But he knows it's bad.
He's been humiliated. Jenny has been kind of forced to the side by the evil cohorts of the evil dance guy. And then Raju,
Right, yeah.
the greatest wingman in the world.
For sure.
Like, we should all be so lucky to have and to be a wingman as great as Raju.
Fact
He-
check.
He is the best. I mean, he blew out her tires.
He orchestrated a thing between two people who have no language
Right.
in common.
he coached him right in front of her how to answer her questions.
Right.
So that he ended up giving her a ride on the motorcycle. He got him to the party dressed to kill,
Yep.
and now he
He flips
just
the
as
platter.
the platter's about to hit the ground, he kicks it up into the air, and it lands on the drum set. The drummer throws the drumsticks into the air, wrong country, and then Raju starts banging out a beat on the platter on the drums, right?
Right.
And the most unbelievable part, the band decided to put the drummer in the middle. Who
Yeah.
does that?
Yeah, I mean,
They put the percussions front and center.
Right,
That
because
doesn't happen.
that
no,
happened.
But it did in this one, right?
because yeah,
Because
And so that's
it is
what
so
leads
perfect.
into Natu Natu, right? Which is the song that did win the
Golden Globe winning and Oscar winning. And
Which-
I did not know this until I think I saw the Golden Globe acceptance speech, but the songwriter of Natu Natu is the director's brother.
oh,
And the director's father is one of the writers. And the director's wife was the costume designer. So
It's
when
a
you're
family
watching
endeavor.
this musical
yeah.
video and they're all wearing suspenders, which gets incorporated into the dance number, it's like this entire family is coming together to produce this great sequence.
And I'm telling you, I got to get some of those suspenders because somehow they reach out like 40 feet. I mean,
Right.
they pull them out and it's just like, whoa, those
Sure.
are elastic.
Those are good elastic suspenders, which were very popular in 1920.
Right.
So Raju bangs it out on the drums, gets everybody's attention, and then tosses the drums back to the drummer, and then he just keeps the beat going.
Right. It's like a Cuban guy or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, he's definitely very dark black.
Right.
African descent, but I mean, he has to have come from Cuba.
Yeah, something like
right? Starts banging on those drums, baby.
And
he got that rhythm pretty quick.
So he goes up to the British guy, and this is where something interesting happens depending on the translation, because he says, "Not salsa, not flamenco, my friend, do you know?" And in the Telugu language version, he says, "Natu," which is the name of the song, Natu Natu, and when they're singing the song, all of the words are translated except for Natu, which makes me think that it's not like a real word in that kind of
name.
Yeah, it doesn't have a translation. Unless you're watching the Hindi version, where he says, "Not salsa, not flamenco, my brother, do you know Desi Nach?" And I'm not sure what Desi Nach is, but it doesn't come up in the song.
Well, yeah, I'm trying to think how that would work with the.
It's such a beautiful scene, and really the whole movie is tied together in ways that there's so many movies that if you watch them a second time, and I gotta admit, like 8 out of 10, maybe 20 out of 25 movies that I watch, like I never want to see them again.
Yeah. Even the ones, even if you like them, it's like, I saw it.
Yeah, I saw it, but I'm not going to get anything out of a second viewing.
Right.
But like, there's so much to see. It's so much movie.
What I love about the musical sequence is that once it is a musical, it is totally a musical. They are teleporting around the scene against all known laws of logic and science. But that's just how it is. And then they're over at the front gates because this is the best framing to do these dance moves. And the bad guys are in the background doing this like Broadway musical, I'm a background actor, but just in case anyone's looking at me, I have to bring my all.
It definitely turns into Seven Brides and Seven Brothers at this moment, where it's this total dance off and
excellent choreography.
The choreography's great.
I saw an interview with, I think it was Ram Charan.
Not with King Solomon.
That's the stunt man.
Stunt director.
He's the stunt director. Sorry.
They were doing these takes, like dozens of takes for this one dance move, because the director's like, we can do more, we can do better, it can be sharper, it can be faster. It's like, oh, we're so tired. But then you see it in the edit, and it was worth it.
Yeah.
It was totally worth it. If you spent 3 months trying to do that dance sequence, that'd be worth it.
And once again, at the end, it's Raj that sacrifices his pride to help Beam get his lady.
Right.
And in that classic melodramatic fashion, when it is happening, they know that it's not really life and death. And they also know that they are totally winning. So they are having fun with it.
Yeah,
the British man is like shouting at them about how gross this is and how improper, and they just smile and give them a thumbs up because we're still dancing, we're having fun, we know we're gonna win.
Right. Yeah, it was just joyous.
Yeah,
right? There's just a lot of joy.
That's a great word.
In there. And again, this occurred to me only after watching it for a few times, but
is this on your 5th or 6th rewatch?
Whatever. That might be the first time that this whole relationship between Beam and Raju, it might be the first time Raju has actually been focused on something other than a grand plan for 4 years.
Yeah.
Right? Like, he has been gone from his village for 4 years focusing on this plan. And he is a single-minded individual.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But at this moment, he's helping this one guy, right? He's just helping out a friend, which I don't think he's done for a while as a character.
Yeah.
And I think that maybe on a subliminal or subliminal is the wrong word, but on a subconscious level, you might kind of know that first time you watch it, but it didn't make its way.
I think that's a great
top
insight.
Of my mind.
Well, it definitely, like, even if you don't notice it when it is happening, when I mean, this is kind of jumping ahead and we come back and forth from the dance sequence, but when Jenny is driving away and he sees the color on the back of her car and he remembers that the guy he's looking for had paint that same color, and it just kind of slams into the audience that we're back on the mission.
Right.
Yeah.
Like for that whole sequence, it is its own self-contained story, and you're with it, and you're loving it, and it's going, and then, bam, right back into.
Right. He's right back on the mission, and he is as intense as ever.
Right.
Really intense.
Yeah.
Really.
Well, because
really
he all of a sudden, I think he goes, "Oh, I think I can find this guy now. I know where to look."
Right. And I'm jumping around as much as they did in the dance, but if you go back to where there was a moment where Beam, who has been pretending to be Muslim this whole time,
Yeah.
and I don't know how obvious that is to maybe people who haven't been to India, but he's definitely wearing traditional Muslim garb,
Right.
and he introduces himself as Akhtar, but he's working at the mechanics, right? And the huge fat British guy, pre-deer encounter, he's like, he gets mad because he's gotten embarrassed in front of his girlfriend, who's the worst girlfriend ever because she's British,
Right.
and she's laughing at him openly,
Right.
because he didn't know that there was a switch
Right.
It was
on
on
the
the
motorcycle,
reserve
right? It was
pump
on
or
like the
something.
reserve tank, and that
Yeah.
tank was empty, whatever. But the point is that Beam can crush this guy
Right.
and all of his friends
Yeah.
without breaking a sweat. But the British guy is just beating him, pummeling him, and berating him, and he just takes, because that's not what he's there for.
Right.
He's there to get to Mali, and he's not going to sacrifice the people around him.
See, and I think that's another interesting theme that of like both of these guys are so single-minded, and their friendship, it's almost like their friendship is a separation. Like it's it's almost like its own story. It's its own
It's
thing.
definitely its own story.
It's its own thing, and even there's a clear distinction between, like, even you mentioned before when he's about to show him the picture, and and it's almost like it's not allowed for those things to come
Right.
together until the time is right.
Right. And you see contrivances like that in movies all the time.
Right. But it's just so clear. It's so
Right.
just
It really is. And it just didn't feel as forced as probably anything that I've seen in 10 years.
Well, there's a beautiful scene where Raj is talking to Beam about his fiance, and they're sitting there, and he's just saying, like, I love this woman, and I can't, we're separated, and I can't remember if he even mentioned why they're apart.
Definitely not.
Yeah. But it's, but you could just feel this genuine friendship, love, and you think Beam would be the same kind of wingman Raj, and he ends up being, as a matter of fact, right? In a way.
Yeah, you are correct. He puts at least as much into helping Raju get back with Sita,
Yeah,
as Raj put into to Jenny.
Yeah,
Jenny.
Jenny. I don't know. I don't know why it just feels right to do the Forrest Gump. Jenny. So Beam, Beam, even in pursuit of Mali, he won't let anybody else get hurt. Right?
Right.
He's going to protect them. He's got to find a way in that lets him get in, get her, and get out without sacrificing anybody else.
Yeah.
Raju has a goal for which he is willing to crush anyone in his way.
Yeah.
They're two very different approaches. And you're right, they're both single-minded in their pursuit, right? But Beam is the purer of heart.
Yeah. Well, that scene
Yeah.
you mentioned is so great because the father's like, why don't you get angry with him when the British guy's beating him? the person he's staying with says, "Why aren't you getting angry with him and pummel him?" He's like, "Well, then I'd bring that anger upon you. Like I would bring that back to you. I'm not gonna hurt you."
Right.
You know?
Right. The Brits would definitely come down on that place.
Yeah.
So even though they're Muslim and he's not, they are helping him and he's protecting them.
Right.
So, I mean, but I think it's two fundamental, and it's another way that the two are fundamentally different in their approach. But it's also a way that they both kind of change. Not that Beams becomes, I'll crush anyone in my path, but they do kind of evolve together.
Right. Yeah, they're definitely become they become stronger together. you
For
know.
sure. So where are we at in the
So
I think
Jenny
it's all in the
invites
back sequence.
invites Beam to the big house.
Right, invites her to the big house, which has been his goal forever.
Right.
Right? So the dance wasn't at the big house, but she drives over there, and that's when she says, "In 2 days, my uncle is coming." And as she drives him into the big house where Mali is being held, and held is the right word. He goes through the airlock kind of gates, right? Like
They got a small set of doors on the outside, and once those are closed, they open another heavier, bigger set of doors. On
Yeah,
the
I wouldn't have
inside.
called those first doors
I wouldn't have called
small.
them small, but they are definitely wooden on the outside and steel reinforced on the inside.
So
Yeah.
it's just security measures. No one gets through the second door until the first door is closed.
And I love Jenny. She's just like, I don't know why. It seems so ridiculous that we have two sets of doors.
Right. And
Oh, you'll
doesn't-
find out.
Beam doesn't understand a word of it.
Right.
But if he could, he'd have been like, I got an idea.
I'll show these
So-
people why they need these doors.
So, the abbreviated version, too late, is
Finds Molly.
he gets in there, he finds Molly, and she doesn't understand why he can't just take her now. But he can't, right?
Right.
He can't take her now. He doesn't have a key. Even if he figured out how to break into there, he'd have to fight his way back out of there, and I don't think he's ready for that yet.
Yeah.
He knows that if he comes back, he can get in, get her, and get out. And right now, he does not have a plan.
Right, and he doesn't have he can't be sure that he could get her out. So that happens.
Right.
Meanwhile,
Raju has found
his brother
Beam's brother.
and is torturing him for
Yeah.
at least 2 days.
At least 2
He's
days,
torturing
he's
him for at
beating
least
him
2
with a
days.
stick. And we know it's got to be 2 days because he found him after the party when she says that Governor Scott is coming back in 2 days. And then the next time I think we come back to them is when everything goes down at the party. So he must have been beating him for 2.5 days.
Right.
Which again, we discover that apparently everybody in India has superpowers. Because
right, we discover that
You're all
Beam's
honing.
brother, is he really his brother? I don't know,
I don't
because
know.
they call each other brother
Right.
all the time, so I don't know. But his brother has also the ability to not only summon a snake, but wait for the moment when the snake, which is behind his back, tries to strike and catch it midair without seeing it at all.
Right.
So, I mean,
Blind.
definitely superpowers.
And again, in the disclaimer, snake.
Snake. This is one snake, and it was not hurt. So get off my back, Peta.
Right.
So, hijinks ensue. Raju gets bit by the snake,
Yes.
The banded crate.
the banded
Not
crate,
even the British have an antidote.
which is important, right?
Yes.
And then facing his own imminent demise, Raju gives up his quest. He kind of sort of cuts the ropes. he's like, I cut the ropes a little bit. You'll be able to get out in a day or two.
Right.
And again, if this is your first time watching it, that's just a fascinating character moment. He's going to die. He will never get this special officer, so he just lets
Lets
it
the guy
go.
go.
He just says goodbye. And when you rewatch it and now you know why he wants to be an officer, it's got that tint of tragedy because I'm never going to fulfill the promise,
Never gonna see
but I'm going to
Sita.
die trying.
Right.
Yeah.
So
So it's a great character moment, and it changes the second time you watch it.
I personally, and I don't know how long we've been talking, but for people listening, it probably feels like days. But
there's a lot to talk about.
You know, you can't say too much about the cinematography of this movie. And there's this moment, and where Raju is dying on the street, right?
Yeah.
He's dying. He knows he's dying. He's like crawling on the sidewalk, and you can see him, but he's in the background, and Beam and his family are talking about it has to be tonight, make sure the truck is ready.
Right. We're going to go get Molly.
And you see them crossing the street, and they don't ever look his way, but you see him in the background, and it's just such a beautiful shot. It's beautifully pictured, and
like you see what's going on, but it also communicates their cognizance. That's not what they know about. That is happening, and as the audience we can see it, but they don't even register.
Right, and the feeling is Beam's going to miss out. Even in his quest, single-minded quest to get Molly, he may miss out on the death of his friend.
Yeah, right. So fortunately,
there's a pot.
Raju finds a pot, and he quickly taps out. Not two. And Beam is like, what? So he goes, and magic herbs.
I know how leaves work.
Doesn't even matter.
It throws some kind of liquid over a hot coal, and that heats up.
I do thought like the drinking from the hot coal is pretty cool.
Right. It was definitely like, that's got to taste good. But I think that was an interesting moment to me, because his brother was like, the British, the great and powerful British, the most powerful force that we can imagine, has no cure.
Yeah.
So you who are working for the British, you're doomed.
Right.
But this illiterate tribal knows how to save him.
Yeah.
And he does. Spoiler.
Again, watch the movie.
and this we come to like the
climax.
Not the climax. It's
Crossroads.
It's the
intersection.
It's the fulcrum of the movie happens right here.
You are listening to And If Love Remains.
The first of 23 installments requested by Dr. Levitt. We're trying to be in compliance here because we're taking him and that whole organization down.